How to install the Yukon spin-free kit. The mechanical connection from the engine through the transfer case to the front drive shaft into the front differential and out through the axles and hubs to the wheels represents some rolling resistance even when the transfer case has disengaged this part of the system from the engine. Locking hubs disengage the wheels from the axles and all the other parts connecting through to the transfer case. Dodge Ram pickup owners have not had locking hubs since 1994, which is what the Yukon spin-free kit is all about. Most of the install is done with tools that a professional mechanic is likely to have on hand, with two exceptions. First is the snap-on DHPI for pressing out the unit bearing using the power steering, and second is a deep spindle nut socket, which Napa ran over to the shop during our install. Master Mechanic Matt Johnson of Mobile Diesel in Oakland, Oregon took us through the steps to install the Yukon components. Here's how it's done. With the pickup off the ground, remove the wheels, brake calipers, and rotors. Support the calipers so you don't stress the brake lines while you finish the rest of the install. Remove the axle nut. Remove the ABS sensor and set it aside. It will be reinstalled in a new location. A dead blow hammer can help get the unit bearing to move. On this truck, the front end had been serviced so the unit bearings weren't seized into the knuckle. If it is seized, you can use the snap-on DHPI or a socket on the outer axle along with using the power steering to break it free. Remove the axles, being careful to pull them out straight, and support them so you don't damage the oil seals, which live well inside the axle housing near the differential. With the axles out, disassemble the U-joints. Using a standard screwdriver, you can remove the retaining clips which hold the cap and seal in place. While there's potential for existing U-joints to be in fine condition to reuse, if they are stock or haven't been replaced recently, you may want to have new U-joints on hand. In our case, one of the needle bearings inside the cap was broken. Time for replacement. Holding the U-joint as far up as you can when installing the cap can help make sure it goes on correctly with the needle bearings kept in place. When assembling the U-joint with the new axle stubs, be sure to install spacers if applicable for your setup. Clean the steering knuckle surfaces if they are rusty or corroded. Applying a light coat of anti-seize to prevent future rust is a good idea. When replacing the axles, be sure to support them and not damage the oil seals. Install the new spindles where the old unit bearing was using the hardware included in the kit. Press in the new wheel studs. Pack both the inner and outer bearings with grease prior to installation. Install the bearing races and seals into the new hub. Put the new bracket for the ABS sensor on the spindle and install the hub with inner bearing in place. Install the spindle washers and lock nuts in the correct order and torque to spec. Spin the bearings to make sure they are fully seated in the races and have the correct amount of resistance. Install the locking hub assembly, including the coil spring, coupler, and driver, applying high pressure grease on all specified surfaces. Install the bezel and selector assembly into the hub, making sure to correctly align the selector and cam. Reinstall the rotors, brakes, and ABS sensor. You may have to cut the dust boot backing plate to clear the ABS sensor. We removed the center caps on these aftermarket wheels to accommodate the new hubs. The owner used a 4-inch hole saw and a die grinder to cut out the hub caps for the Yukon hubs, giving the install a cleaner look.